Hello, everyone. I'm Meghna. I'm an education consultant at Aussizz Melbourne, and I welcome you all to this exciting session on how to find a job during the post-study work rights period. I'm sure a lot of us are sailing in this boat, and this event can help us with a lot of useful information that we can use to get our dream job. We're joined by Ms. Priyanka Pandey, a senior HR professional with over 15 years of experience in designing and deploying best in HR practices, managing HR in both agile startups as well as organizations with massive scale. She's worked extensively in India, China, Australia, and is currently leading the People and Culture function at Aussizz Group for Victoria. Um, our expert will be waiting to take your questions, so please post your questions in the chat box and we'll get to them at the end of the session. We also have some exciting giveaways for all our attendees. We want to take the session deep and interactive, so we encourage all your questions and feedback. Let me tell you a little about the rewards. We have bumper cash prizes to claim for the ones who leave the most descriptive review under the Facebook post. I shall be putting the link for that shortly in the chat box. So tag your friends and make as much noise in the comment section as possible with your feedback so that you get these exciting rewards. And also the most participative audience member from the chat box will be eligible for a list of free giveaways including free PT coaching, IELTS coaching, PR consultations, and a lot more. So we encourage you all to come and be part of our summit. I'll now let Ms. Priyanka take over for the rest of the session.
Thank you, Meghna, for the lovely introduction. And guys, please participate. Ensure that you ask questions, and who knows, one of you can be the lucky winner, right? So I'll just share my presentation deck. Bear a moment. Are you guys able to see my screen? Meghna? No? Okay. So you're able to see my screen, is it? Because I am not able to.
Not
No,
now,
not yet.
not
Not
now.
yet.
We lost you there, yeah. Yeah, we
Okay.
can see it now.
You can see it, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Just a second. Right. So all good? Cool. So thank you everyone for spending, taking time out and coming. And I know each one of you who is there, I know, and I can just unfortunately not see your lovely faces, but I can see your names and you're participating, is out there in the job market and want to prove themselves, right? So yeah, so the good news is you're already there, right? So what do you do, right? I mean, is landing a job in Australia, the land of dreams, is it so hard? Is it so difficult, right? So before I start, and mostly, things I'm going to talk about are probably not things you have not heard of in college or in your institute, right? I mean, all of you have, left your countries, come here. That itself shows that you have passion and you want to do something different. You are, you have courage, and that's what you need. So you, congratulations, you all have courage already, right? So which I also had probably. So I'll start with a little story, and I have slides. Don't worry, I'm going to show you slides. I'm going to give you some strategies. But so uh, I also landed in Australia, but not as an international student. I have, like Meghna said, almost now 15 years of experience, and I came here on PR. So yes, I didn't know the pains to get PR until I landed here in Aussizz Group. When I see my colleagues and I see so many of students coming in, because you guys know that we help people achieve their dream for permanent residency, right? I mean, we help them. So I landed here, but I knew that it's going to be challenging, and I thought, fine, how challenging can it be? I have so many years of experience. I have worked with so many MNCs and multinationals. So yes, maybe I'll land. To my surprise, Australia tested me for 8 months. I got 250 rejections. I've counted it. Yes. And it was like, local experience. That's something I'm not going to talk about it. It's a very off repeated subject. People talk about it. I can take questions on that later. So you have a fantastic resume, but oh, you don't have a local experience, but we would like to come back to you after a year, meaning, you get some work and we'll come back to you after a year. And I was like, okay, but isn't like that a catch 22 situation, because somebody needs to give me that first role, right? And believe me, guys, I started hating Australia because I have always worked, I have always been in action. That's me, and I was like, what the hell, what's happening? And I know that so many of you must be going through that frustration, especially if you've spent money doing that coveted degree, $40,000, $30,000. I mean, it's crazy, right? And people often take loans to study, and I can completely understand. What did I do? So of course my strategy was different, because I was classified under the skilled migrant category, right? But I had to, for the first time in my life, I used to think that, I coach people for careers. I took a career coach. I actually paid somebody to be my career coach. I'm not trying to tell you guys that you should be doing that, because for a skilled migrant things are a pretty different thing, because we don't study here, we don't have anything to do with Australia. At least you guys have a local experience of having an Australian qualification, so congratulations on that too. So you are much better than I was in your situation, probably, right? So then I, of course, took a career coach. What did I do? Did a lot of things which I'm going to talk about today. And I will probably relate to my experience. But yes, it is not easy, I understand, but it's not impossible. Okay. Also, I think what has happened is because of the pandemic, right? Skills are short. I mean, there has been a skill shortage in Australia last 2 years. Lots of migrants have not come. So in a way, it can become probably a good situation for a lot of you there, probably when it was before the pandemic. So how to utilize that situation too, right? So let's uh, go further into this. So before that, I think Meghna has already spoken about the bumper contest. So please ensure that you ask questions. Make this an interactive sessions. I don't have a magic wand to tell you that do this and you'll get, or this mantra and you'll get a job. But of course, we'll try and explore some of the known strategies. We will talk about it, and yeah, we can always answer questions. So that's my agenda for today. So I'm going to talk about, I'm actually going to go a little, and because I'm not sure if all of you have passed out, or, there are people still studying. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, do you actually start thinking about a job when you finish your degree, or you actually start preparing much before? So we're talking about, starting out. When's the best goal, best time? Start early. So talking about two strategies, one for self, one for the system is the job market, right? Self is yourself. Of course, what are employees looking for? I happen to be one of the persons on the other side now. We are an employer to Aussizz. So what are we, people like us looking for? What are the HR folks out there looking for? People who are screening you, right? Of course, a little bit about the Australian recruitment cycle, just to help you that when are the which are the seasons when jobs come more on those Seek and LinkedIn, job portals, and steps when applying for work. What do you do? And of course, know your work rights. Very, very important, right? So for some of you, this might be the first time you probably are going to be working in Australia. Right. So let's get into the facts. So nothing probably which you don't know, but yes, Australia needs you. Believe me or not, even when they say you don't have local experience or you're just a fresher, Australia needs skilled people. That's a fact. If that was not a fact, you know this whole migration regime, this whole emphasis on international education, international education is like a big billion dollar industry for Australia, right? It has had a big impact because of the pandemic. But why does Australia has this? Because they need good people, and these good people are people who come here to study. Some people go back, some people, a lot of you stay back here to make a life here. So it's important that we know that Australia needs people like us, because we make a difference, believe it or not. When we go out there, once we get into the job market, we make a difference. As per the 2021 GOS survey, so 68.9% graduates have landed full-time jobs after passing out. So there are statistics available that people get jobs after they pass out. In fact, employment rate for full-time and part-time, employment for recent graduates have been 84.8%, which is not bad, by the way. Of course, this does not mean everybody is trying to get jobs in their particular field or area. Sometimes you might have done your qualification in a different field, but you're probably working in a different field, right? And we'll talk about that. And within 3 years of finishing their studies, of course, now 3 years seems to be a long time, because when you probably come to Australia, you come with a lot of dreams. All of us come that, see yourself, okay, we get a job, we buy a house, we buy that fancy car. Yes, everything is happening, going to be happening, but it is going to take time. We need patience. Nothing comes in a platter. We have to work hard to reach there, right? So this is good news that 9 in 10 graduates, which is a good number, by the way, are employed full time, right? Attitude matters. I always tell this to people. I think what kept me going was my attitude. When I told you that story, right? I didn't give up. Somebody like me who has worked, trust me, somebody like me who was always referred in India and China when I had worked, I had never looked for work. It was very difficult to digest that why am I not employable, right? Is there something wrong with me? It's so easy to start self-doubting. Do not self-doubt yourself. Well, that doesn't mean have overconfidence. That's not advisable. So of course, when people give you feedback, take it, try to improve on it, but have that attitude that yes, I have something good going in me and it will happen. So be positive and be optimistic. Careers are not linear. What does it mean? Gone are the days, and I think it's a myth that people think that careers are linear. I will get into a job, say I can always take an example of HR, and I'll become an HR advisor, I'll become an HR manager, I'll become a senior HR business partner. Doesn't work like that always, right? Things happen. Happy incidents happen in life, pandemics happen in life. We've seen this in the last 2 years. So when you get into a particular job, you realize, this is not something I really like doing. You meet people, you meet different people, you start getting different ideas. And this generation, the millennial generation, you guys are so fantastic, intelligent, you are so aware, you're so socially linked, you are everywhere. I mean, you guys like things at the pick up a button, but understand that careers are no longer linear. So sometimes you have to pick up things which probably is not your area, but you never know what may come out of it in the future. So it's important to think like that and not get disappointed that I have done this course and I'm not getting a job there. And this is a reality, by the way. I mean, there are a lot of people in Australia who are probably he's done probably a master's in accounting but doing something else. We have people in Aussies, and they eventually land up in the area, and sometimes they realize this is not probably what I want to do. They actually stick to what they have been doing because of the interest, right? So these are some facts I wanted to kind of emphasize on, right? So when I started, I said that it's important. I'm assuming there are audience which probably some of you might still be studying. Some have already kind of done your finished your course. Now it's important to first know what you want to do. Of course, you would say the answer will be that I have taken this course, so probably yes, Priyanka, I want to do this. I want to, become an accountant, or I want to be in HR, or I want to be, a business analyst. These are some of the roles, very, very popular, right? And of course, the PR pathway and all is there. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not an expert there. But what is your plan? Okay, you come here. More often than not, yes, you come here with a dream, and you come in a very idealistic scenario. You don't really know the real reality. Steps in when you come here. You start living alone. For many of you, it's the first time probably you are stepped out of home, leave alone, stepping out of a country. It's not easy, right? So you come out. Sometimes you have decided some course, but maybe that's not something you want to do. But at the end, what is important is that you have to plan early, that what is it that I want to do and what are the skills required for this. And we'll talk about skills as well. What are skills? What are hard skills? What are human skills? We're going to talk about that. So of course, create a plan. What do you want to achieve in the next 1, 3, 5 years? Now some of you might want to argue with me and say, Priyanka, you just spoke about careers are not linear, so why are you talking to us about planning for 5 years? So when I say planning for 5 years, I don't mean plan that I am going to do this particular role in this particular kind of companies. Have a plan as to what is it that you see yourself doing in terms of learning, in terms of what kind of job you're looking at. It might not be, it might change, by the way, and know that if you make a plan, it might change. So be flexible there, but it's important to plan. Okay. Now, when you are studying in your university, in uni, you get a lot of career counseling, mentoring, and all of that. Ensure that you are taking care, taking advantage of those things. Your webinars and workshops. Pre-pandemic, there used to be career fairs and stuff like that. There would be experts who would come, and I'm sure they would start that soon. But there are lots of webinars happening. I mean, you open LinkedIn, you would see so many other people. Every second person is talking about career and counseling and stuff like that, and specifically it's targeted also towards industry specific sessions. So if you are into IT and something is happening, you come to know, you should try and attend if you think it's going to help you, right? So starting early is the key. You need to know what you are going to do. It has helped me when I write about my goals. Some people write about it, some people don't, some people just have it in their heads. But I don't know, maybe I'm old fashioned that in the next 3 years or 2 years, these are the things I would like to do, and it helps, right? It's also important to know yourself. Who are you? What are you good at? What you don't like doing? So if you are a person who dislikes taking calls and dislikes receiving calls, talking to people, do not ever go to a customer service role. You're going to fail. Okay, I'm just giving an example. So you should know that what is it that you like to do. Do you really like numbers? Okay, yes, you like numbers, you can get into details. You are somebody who has that patience. Maybe careers like accounting and all, good for you, right? So know what you are good at, and also know what you do not like to do, or maybe you're not good at. So it's always important to know your strengths and your areas like weaknesses. That, and it's not, people might say work on your weakness, work on your weakness. I'm sure you've heard it in college multiple times from your teachers, or your groups or stuff like that. Yes, it's important to work on your weakness, but play on your strengths, I would say. you know Trust me, if you have 3 weakness, you have 10 strengths, right? So play on that. Know your interest area. Sometimes, especially in very creative careers and all, I have seen people who have done engineering but they end up doing content writing, being influencers on social media. So, and I think the best part about you, this generation, is you guys know it early. We used to make this mistake of working for 7 years and then realizing, oh my god, this is not for me. This happens still today as well, but you guys know it early. I think I would give the credit to human evolution for that. The human mind is evolving, right? So now, what's your dream job? Okay, now we all think, that, okay, I want to do this. This is my dream job. Even I have a dream job now. Everybody has a dream job. But Hannah, it's not wrong to have a dream job, but you need to work towards it. Okay, what is it that you want to do? I have seen some of my acquaintances saying, I want to work for Google. That's their dream. How simple is that? Is it easy to get into Google? It is not. But trust me, I am actually talking about somebody I know whose only dream was to get into Google. And I think 3 to 4 years after multiple rejections, they have managed to get through. Because that's what their dream was. And now, are they happy there? Are they not happy there? Okay, I really don't know. I mean, that was their dream. They have achieved it, right? So it's important to, I think, have that goal, have that plan, right? And at the same time, be flexible about that plan. Okay, Meghna, please stop me if I am going too much, because I have a tendency to. It's my favorite topic. So right. So now I have a website reference here, myfuture.edu.au. So this is a good website. I think you guys must have, some of you know about it. It's a good website, talks about a lot of different multiple sectors and industries. You can go there, have a look, right? And see if it's helpful for you. Moving on. Just right. So this is some more strategies for self, right? So obviously, moving on, visit career fairs, webinars, like I said. Focus on building on your technical and soft skills during your first year. um, I I'll talk an interesting aspect about soft skills I have, which I'm going to talk about in my next slides. Now, part-time work experience. Now, I am sure a lot of you are already working part-time, because for students, it is a matter of not like experience but a necessity. You have to. It's an expensive place. You have to take care of your expenses, right? So more often than not, people end up doing part-time jobs. A lot of you are probably doing it already. But even if it's not about the money alone, I think everybody should do a part-time role here, because the real life experience, the real life skills you are going to pick up when you're employed in Australia is very, very different than you know somebody who has done multiple part-time roles in their study paid duration has more likelihood of landing a role than somebody who has not done part-time jobs, or probably doesn't need to do it because probably financially that's not an issue, right? But it's just not about the finance. Definitely it is about the finance and money, but it's more than that. So it gives you access to referees who knows, those people whom you have worked with know somebody in some place, and they can refer you if you have done a good job. So you, because in Australia, very frustratingly, people say it doesn't matter what you know but who you know, right? So this is actually, it's not true for Australia, this is true for everywhere, network, knowing people, all these things help a lot, right? It also demonstrates a reliability, time management, how trustworthy you are. Now, no matter what the role is, even if it's a role you are, you're probably doing a 7-Eleven job, or you are working in a hospitality sector, aged care, these are the usual sectors our students go to. Do you realize that the job might be very different than what you're going to land up in? Again, I'll take an HR example. Somebody is probably wanting to get an HR job after their studies, but they are probably working in a different sector. But that doesn't mean that it's not giving you anything. First of all, it's giving you the real experience of how a work environment is, right? If you're able to, whatever job it is, have passion, do it well. Because if you do it well, people are going to be talking about you, and people only refer people when they are happy with them. Okay, and this has happened here at Aussizz, that we have got so many references from people, from different industry. Thoroughly, that I know this and this person, and they are actually good. They've not worked in this line, but we feel that they can be a fantastic addition to your, organization. And we have had them, and they're doing well, right? So it's important that ensure that you do the part-time roles when you get. And of course, it also increases your intercultural knowledge, because in Australia, it's a place where people from different backgrounds are there. So if you go to a workplace, you work there, you get to meet different people, you get to see different styles of management, interpersonal skills, and especially speaking, listening. Also, it's a good place to practice your English, because some international students have a language problem as well. Maybe that's not their native language. That's completely all right. But when you come here, it actually gives you a place to practice your English, and that's nothing like it, right? And teamwork, how can we forget about teamwork? When you work in a place, you actually get to work in projects. Now, of course, when you're doing your internships, or you're studying, you do your project work with your fellow students and stuff. That there also there is teamwork. But in an actual workplace, how much initiative are you taking? Are you cooperating with other people? All those skills really really matter, and you actually get to learn those real time. I mean, that's nothing like that if you are able to get that opportunity, right? Also, when you meet a diverse range of people, because when you're working, you end up meeting a lot of people, right? If you're working in a customer service role, you will end up, because a lot of our international students also end into customer service roles, phones and stuff, actually end up talking to a lot of people. Sometimes you end up knowing people, right? So this sometimes you also can. And again, social media, we are all across everywhere on social media, so it's important that we know and we leverage the importance of social media when it comes to building that professional network. And we're going to talk about that, right? Okay. Now, further talking about strategies for self volunteering, I can't talk enough about why volunteering is important, right? There are some websites: Seek Volunteer, Go Volunteer, Australia Volunteer Search, Volunteering Australia. Now, sometimes you might not get paid work, okay? Then of course, again, money is important, but not all volunteers are, by the way, not paid. Sometimes they are paid also, but mostly volunteer work is when you just give your service. And it can be for in things in your industry, or more often than not, it can be for a not for profit kind of a sector as well, right? Engaging in community, in any kind of not for profit work or clubs or anything, it can actually help you build a broad range of skills. It'll help you gain confidence, okay? And if possible, and if you have the time and bandwidth, engaging in the not for profits, again, a very very good way. In fact, sometimes you actually end up getting your area of work in a not for profit. So if they're looking for somebody to help them in IT, you actually go and do that. Of course, they are not for profit, so they might not pay you or just pay you for your travel allowance or something like that. But these are small projects which you can pick up, which will add great value to your resume, right? You can talk about it. You have something to talk about, right? Um, why volunteering? What is the benefit? Of course, again, you gain experience, you acquire new skills for your resume, like I said. And again, the network in Australia would increase. You'll get to know more people. You can develop those friendships, you can develop those connects, right, in the community, right? And you get Australia, insight into the lifestyle, the workplace culture. Again, an amazing place to practice your English, and then that's something which is important for a lot of people. And of course, gain local reference. So that's volunteering again is a great way to explore the workplace. If you can get, there are websites. Seek actually have a volunteer page. Seek volunteer. I have tried that too. So it actually works. So I think this is another aspect of what can you do when it comes to you trying to uh, get ready for the job market or looking for work. Right. System. I've already spoken about vocation work. Now, for students, I think internships is something which really, really works. We have ourselves hired interns in the past, right? So whether you're in marketing or whether you are in other, IT or something, look for companies. I am sure you all are on LinkedIn. I don't have to tell you that how important it is to have build a very strong professional profile on LinkedIn. Follow the companies you aim to work for, right? And of course, there are lots of companies who give internship opportunities. Some of them are paid to, by the way, some are not paid. Now, I'm not going to get into the debate of should you have paid or unpaid internships, but hey, if it's giving you an experience and a solid reference letter, why not for 3 months, right? Who knows, you might land up with a job in the same company, right? So research and develop the commercial awareness of, yes, which means that when you which company you want to work for, what are they doing, stuff like that, right? Developing a global network. I have already spoken about how do you develop that on the social media. Now, this hidden job market. Now, when I came to Australia, I heard about the hidden job market. I was like, what is the hidden job market? So, what essentially it means that they actually say that almost 60-70% of the jobs are never advertised. So I'm like, are you serious? Because Seek has so many vacancies, all the more now because of the pandemic. There have been vacancies who have been popping up again and again. I think people don't get the right candidate, and those vacancies, some of them I see like for 3 to 4 months. But the hidden job market essentially is that I have a role today, and we do that, by the way. And now I realize it more that I actually right now I'm probably working on so many vacancies. I'm an HR person. I'm also a recruiter for my organization, right? Have I advertised all of them? Actually, no. Because what happens sometimes, you get internal references, right? You know somebody who knows somebody. So that ways you're actually able to fill that position without even advertising it on Seek or LinkedIn. So now, how do you access this job market? $1 million question. You are an international student. You have spent so much money to come here. You have studied. Now Priyanka is asking that know about the job market. You access it through your network. That means if somebody knows somebody, okay, like my example, I landed this job at Aussizz 2 years ago through somebody who knew the founder of this organization, and I had that met that person, trust me or not, on LinkedIn. I have still date never met that person. Thanks to the pandemic, I have been wanting to say thank you to him to go and have a coffee, but it has not happened. But I'm not going to name the person, but he's a good famous career coach. He said, hey, you know what, I know this XYZ founder, he's looking for somebody like you, would you be interested for a coffee? I said, okay, fine. That's how I landed this job. I'll tell you about one more experience if we have time. You will be amazed to hear how I landed interviews in this country. Okay, so your network is going to give you access to the hidden job market. Go out. Are you shy? Even if you're shy, you know, you need to be outgoing. You need to go meet people. You need to ensure that you are, meeting the right people. Sometimes you just have to meet, even if you know that nothing is going to come out of it. Go meet more and more people. Now, in a pandemic situation, of course, you can't go physically, but it's completely possible to connect with people on LinkedIn. When was the last time you went to your LinkedIn profile and actually started connecting? Have you gone and reached to your connections? Do that. It really, really works, right? So I think that is how you will kind of access. And yeah, if you don't love coffee, you have to start loving coffee, especially you are in Melbourne, because you'll have to have coffees with a lot of people. It helps. I have had multiple coffees, by the way. I have lost count of the cups. I mean, you can imagine 250 rejections, so maybe, permutation and combination. Mentoring programs. So there are a lot of universities have mentoring programs. A lot of universities do. So sometimes, we have so many things available when we are studying, but we really don't take advantage of all those programs available. So do that, right? Resume and cover letter. I'm not going to really dig deep into resume and cover letter because I am sure a lot of people give you a lot of so-called yarn on resume and cover letter. Oh, you should make a resume like this, or do you know a human does not really screen your resume? ATS does. Okay, I will tell you one thing. Our cover letter is important. Personally, I feel cover letters are passe. I don't know why they ask for cover letters. But Australia, still, a lot of workplaces, they lay an emphasis on cover letter. So it's good to have a professional cover letter, right? You can take, help from friends, people like, if you know any HR people from them, or people, there are professional resume writers, they can help you. But essentially, you need to ensure that you need your resume and cover letter. And the difference between a resume and cover letter is resume talks about who you are, what skills you have, and what experience do you have, and what education and stuff like that. Cover letter essentially is, do not repeat the same thing which is in the resume. That is what people do. You talk about who you are and what you can do for the company. How do you decide that? In Australia, when they advertise for jobs, more often than not, there is something called key selection criteria, right? You need to go through that key selection criteria and try and see how your experience, kind of matches there. For graduate roles and freshers, not much. I think this would apply more for people with experience, but it is important that you cater your cover letter to the kind of organization you are applying to accordingly, and you write the your skills in line with whether this meets the key selection criteria. Do you have that? What can you do for them? Also, I spend roughly 12 to 15 seconds on a resume. I'm not joking. Max 20 seconds. Must be very disheartening for a lot of you, thinking I spent a month building that resume and the HR person just spends 15 seconds. Yes, because we get so many resumes, it's not possible for us to look at each in detail. Of course, if it gets shortlisted and when we interview, we have to go through in detail as to what they have done. But when I'm talking about, when I'm screening, you know now then, how does it help you? Ensure that most of the information which you want the recruiter to see, or you want to catch their eye, is on the first page. That means your education, your top skills, your certifications, IT, accounting, whatever, blah, blah, right? And of course, your phone number, your LinkedIn profile, all of that is important, right? You need to give a link of the LinkedIn profile, right? And whatever is your best skills, you have to sell it on the first page. Doesn't mean we don't look at the other pages, but when I'm screening, seriously don't have time. So think from that perspective and build a resume and cover letter. Not going much deeper into it because I have other areas to kind of cover, right? Networking, very, very important. I've already spoken about networking. Network online. There are lots of these, meetups which happen. Some people, there are a lot of people who actually voluntarily do these meetups in the industry. Know those people and go and meet them. And when you do this meetups, you might find a lot of people like yourself. So it's actually a good thing to know that I am not alone. There are many people, but there are experts who come to these meetups, and you can really benefit you by listening to them, and also by knowing somebody who needs somebody like you, and who knows you might land a job, right? Sometimes there are good pizzas also in the meetup. I have been to many. Okay, right. So yes, networking is important. So again, further talking about networking, there are lots of professional networking, like I said, CPA Australia, Engineers Australia, and Australian Computer Society, they do. But there are lots of these volunteers in the lot of these people who are into so-called career coaching and counseling. Sometimes they do some free events. By all means, go there, right? There are clubs and societies where you can actually which you can be a part of, and I'm sure a lot of you were a part of these when you were studying, when you were in RMIT or Uni of Melbourne or wherever you were, right? So this gives you access to diverse network of contacts, right? Playing sports, by the way, is a very amazing way in Australia to build network. Australia is huge into sports. hear people say that if you're able to talk about footy in an interview, it really works. I have never spoken because I'm not that much of a footy fan, but I think that was an example. Not necessarily you have to, but I think playing sports is a great way to build network. So if you have those skills, of course, you have to be sporty enough. By all means, get into a club. It also will, of course, help you stay fit and active, but also get to know a lot of people there, right? Volunteering, we have already spoken about. Social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, I can't stress enough. You guys are everywhere. I think there is Insta, there is TikTok, Twitter, everything is there. But I think when it comes to professional network, LinkedIn really, really helps. So build that network, right? And family connections, by the way, it works. So if your dad, if you're from some country, your dad knows somebody here, your parents, your cousins, your uncles, try and build that connection, work that connection out, meet the people. You never know, things can work out for you. Sometimes these help in getting those vocational placements, sometimes some internships. So try and leverage those connections also from back home. It really, really helps, right? Moving on. Right. So now I'm moving into a very different section of my talk, which was more about, okay, what all you can do now. What is it that the market is looking for? Okay. Now, technical skills and human skills. Now, I know I've used the words soft skills, but if you have heard of Simon Sinek, he's a very famous TED talker. He became famous with this book called Start with Why. So he says that whenever you have to start anything, start with why. Why am I doing this? You know, why? So I think he became famous with that, and then I think I believe in this, that there's a video actually you can go and watch if you want, Simon Sinek, on soft skills and hard skills. So he's like, why are soft skills called soft skills? Ideally, it should be human skills, isn't it? I mean, more often than not, people get selected or rejected or get a horrible or a better performance review on their human skills, because that helps you connect, that helps you thrive in a workplace. It's like trust and performance, right? Now, how do you measure trust? Different, it's difficult, right? It's kind of not that tangible, right? So we're going to talk about those things now. Okay, what are employers looking for? Technical skills, of course. uh, do you We are looking for an accounting person. So for accounts receivable position, we need these skills, should be having experience on Zero or MIOB or stuff like that. These are, you know technical skills, that you should know a particular system or a computer software package. You should know a particular language. Sometimes for some jobs, some language are important. Knowledge of laws and policies. For an HR person, sometimes knowing the Australian employment law and legislation becomes important. So these are technical skills. You have it, you don't have it, you can definitely build on it. These are tangible, easy to measure, and easy to check. And obviously holding a particular degree, whatever degree you or certification you have done, right? Then there are hard skills, which are, most and they are most often used when you are interviewing in the recruitment process to identify whether this is the right candidate, right? But I think the human skills or the soft skills are the most important, and that is what you show in your interview. See, when you go for that half an hour interview, first of all, I think interview processes are very subjective, and it's never objective. Do HR people make error? Yes, we do. Trust me, we sometimes have so many examples of bad hires, right? Because we're just spending that half an hour, 40 minutes, or say 45 minutes to max 1 hour, right? It helps to have a panel, of course, because they are able to gauge. I'm probably able to gauge something which my fellow panelists missed on. But coming to the point, it is that 40 minutes to 1 hour of time, you can't show how good you are on a particular language or a software package, right? They're not testing you on whether you're able to Java and some kind of language. They are talking to you. So what comes across is your human skills, not soft skills, right? Because I feel these are skills which help you connect. So it should not be called soft skills, because sometimes when you categorize skills in hard skills and soft skills, it feels like these are not important. But dude, this is the most important thing in an interview. Okay, so they are less tangible, of course you can't see them, but when you talk to somebody, so things like having communication skills, able to listen to your interviewer, teamwork, empathy. Now teamwork, of course, with behavioral questions and examples, emotional intelligence, I mean time management, skills, organization skills. Remember, previous slides I spoke about, these skills are skills which you will probably pick up. Of course, you pick up when you study also, because in a study environment, in a uni, you are doing teamwork, you have projects, assignments together. So a lot of these things develop. This develop in school, in college, uni, everywhere. But I think in a workplace, you are also able to kind of, develop this and showcase this, right? So now coming back to this top 10 human skills Australian employees look for. There may be many, but I have categorized. Communication skills, very, very important. Now, when you talk about communication skills, I have a separate slide for it to give more detailed as to what is it that we expect. Passion. You have to be passionate about what you do. Whether you're taking calls, whether you are, in a hospitality sector, aged care sector, wherever you are, be passionate. Give your 110% to your job. Like I said, nothing comes easy. When we look at these success stories of entrepreneurs who have come here, who came here as international students, they have built big businesses, or they came here as a skilled migrant or international student, and they landed up into a big C-suite role or a very higher management role. They didn't reach there in one day. The thing is that the human mind is always tuned to look at the final result. We look at the success, we don't see the hard work behind the success. So trust me, you will have to be passionate. You have to show that you are worthy. People need to see that this person has the intent to work and intent to do something in life, and that comes out in whatever job you're doing. Trust me, any sane manager will observe that and see that. Okay. Logic, technical skills, very, very important in a lot of jobs. Obviously, being logical is actually required in a lot of jobs, most of the jobs, I would say. Academic results, definitely important for international students. Work experience, the part-time work experience you have, or you've had some overseas work experience. A lot of you have overseas work experience too. Yes, sometimes they don't really care much about overseas, but it's not like that. They would see what you have done. Cultural fit, share values. Again, culture fit is more on especially when it's an Australian workplace, you're like, do you know what the country is about? So sometimes when you come here, you're very blank about the overall Aussie culture, in terms of how many of you actually know about, and it might sound strange to you, the Aboriginal history. How many of you know why Australia is a migrant nation? How many of you know the politics of Australia? Do you know your mayor in the local area? Do you know your premier? Do you know your, the states here? What is important in the overall socio-economic, how's the economic environment in Australia? These are things which helps you, because believe me or not, sometimes interviews are not just technical, or they're just not technical or just judged on human skills. They would start asking you questions on, it might also start on something like, when was your last vacation, and you never know, you might start talking about tourism in Australia or something like that. So do you are you well read, or are you well versed enough to talk about different topics? Because that kind of determines that, okay, this person is able to talk, is able to relate, is able to connect. Emotional intelligence is very, very important. How to conduct yourself? Do you know yourself? How do you manage your emotions, balance it in a workplace, or in any environment for that matter, right? Teamwork, activities and interest outside of work, and of course leadership skills. So these are the top human skills which people look for, and these are the some of the top skills which I think would, if you develop and if you have, it will help you not only just to land a job, but in general in life too. Okay, moving on. So I just discussed about the communication skill bit. I have tried to dive deep, kind of deeper into that. It is, it is a lot. Communication skill is just not about talking in English, by the way. Okay, are you able to write? Now, what happens in a very corporate lingo? What does communication skill mean? Writing corresponding to emails. More often than not, people fail when it comes to writing professional emails. you know right from the kind of fonts, the kind of colors, the kind of tonality to be used. Okay, letters, reports. In your job, you might end up making those reports and all of that. So are you able to write in a concise manner, in a grammatically correct manner? What is the tone of your communication? What is the context? Are you able to get all that? Of course, these are the things I'm sure you get to know more when in your course, when you do your assignments and your project reports and all. I'm sure all this matters there too, but these are things which matter in real life also when you do a job, right? Ability to listen. Now, listening skills are something which are very hard to get by. More often than not, when people go on an interview, they are in a spree of, I need to talk about myself, I need to sell myself. Yes, you have to. Are you able to listen to the interviewer and mirror him or her? What is it that they're expecting? What is it that they're asking, right? Are you able to concisely, reiterate their saying that, yes, like you said, something like that? So not only in an interview, but in a normal work scenario also, I think actively listening to people, very, very important, especially in customer service roles and, uh, a lot of roles for that matter. Listening skills is important. You need to be actively listening, not hearing. There's a difference. People hear but they don't listen. Listening means you're actually paying attention to the person, right? And you're able to contribute to the conversation. Okay, so both socially and work related. Water cooler conversations. What is water cooler conversation? Now, in a workplace, there is informal conversation and formal conversation, right? So, are you able to actually connect with people? More often than not, you will see, and I see this in Aussies too. There are some youngsters who are people like you who have just probably passed out or have 1 or 2 years of experience. They are able to connect better. They're able to. They would talk to everybody. They would greet you. They have some interesting things to talk about. So it's important to go out there and we have the ability to make those conversations. And trust me, this is not about, so do not confuse it with gossip or something. It is more like having meaningful conversation. It might also be a very normal conversation about some sale happening, by the way, or it can be a conversation on the political scenario, or it can be, I don't discuss politics in office, but I'm just saying, or it can be a conversation on the latest Australian Open match, right? So have those abilities, and if you don't have, it helps to develop those abilities, right? Work related communication, again, telephone skills, customer service skills, interaction with your managers, team members. How do you talk in meeting? Are you able to take those initiatives in meeting? Very, very important. Body language, again, these are non-verbal cues of communication. Eye contact, posture, like, how do you shake hands? Do you have a firm grip? I'm sure people have told you that you should have a firm grip. And then how do you shake hand with a woman? Firm grip is not so firm that squeeze it so hard. So you need to know all that, right? Obviously, developing English, I can't stress that enough. It's important. We are, Australia is an English speaking country. So while having, but trust me, when you come from a different country, whether you are coming from India or China or Vietnam or Sri Lanka, wherever, having knowing that extra language also is very, very good, by the way. So yes, being bilingual is very good in today's world, but English, because it's widely used, it's an English speaking nation, it's important, right? And so of course, obviously, the whole application process assesses the ability to communicate, because if you see from the beginning, they would see your written communication. How do they see your written communication? In your resume, in your cover letter, in the mails to the recruiter. When you send emails to the recruiter, those are the ways when people can gauge, or judge your communication skills. When you come in an interview, your speaking skills are judged as to how are you speaking. It is not about speaking flawlessly in English, by the way. It's about the ability to make meaningful conversation, ability to be articulate, and ability to answer in a very concise manner. And are you able to kind of connect with the interviewer? Those are the things which are very, very important. Some of the things which techniques or recruitment practices are, of course, people ask behavioral questions, we talk about it. There are case studies which are given to students. Sometimes it doesn't end in the just the subjective interview process. There's psychometric testing happening sometimes. Assessment centers also happen. So you need to know about these things as to what these things are. Go Google, you'll find out, right? And what do you do when you come? Never ever try to cheat a psychometric testing. I'm telling you this advice. A lot of people think that they can try and make up to be the best person. No, you cannot. It is designed in a way that the real you will come out. So it's always better to play what you are, right? Some ideas to again improve your communication skills: take short courses, work on your pronunciation, participate in club societies, and know the local slang. By the way, in Australia, knowing convo, knowing macas and all that thing is so important, because I think you guys get it when you're studying. I think part of the process is to kind of get assimilated, but these things are important, right? Watch the way way other people who are better at communication skill, they are communicating. Watching your TV shows, it's a, in the era of Netflix, I think everything is available. So ensure the local news, look at look at your favorite TV shows, or listen to your radio shows and stuff. This, and not in the pandemic time, but Australia is quite lively and diverse when it comes to the drama or the music scene. Melbourne is the place to be. So try and attend those things. It helps, right? Be proactive, right? And of course, you have to always keep building on your English skills, because that's important, whether, especially for people who are not comfortable and English is not your first language, right? Australian recruitment cycle. Now we all know that the Australian, it's kind of related to, of course, when people pass out and stuff. But I think the financial year also determines, because the budgets in organization, because it's June, right? So around July, August, fresh resourcing budgets are, right, kind of released. Organizations decide that we need X number of people. So it happens around that June, July time. It also happens around the winter time, right? So you need to know usually it's the similar pattern, but you need to know when major companies in the sector are hiring. So a very good way to do that is in LinkedIn. Try and start following the company you like. You can always do that, right? So you can keep getting updates. If some of the people who are working in the company are a part of your network, if they post anything, you get to know it. So that is a good way to kind of follow graduate, especially for graduate roles and internships opportunities, because a lot of big companies, they actually advertise for graduate roles where they're actually not looking for experience, right? Applications open late Feb also, so now is also a time, and will close around April, then again in June, July, right? And again, you also have to have on a lookout of vocation and internship roles also. November time is also a time just before Christmas. Also, there is a time which opens up for people to kind of apply for placements, right? Okay, so already spoke about having a global network, having a LinkedIn profile. We spoke about resume and cover letter, quality over quantity. So this is when you start applying for work. Okay, you have passed out, you did all of that. Hopefully, people who are still studying, that you're focused on what you want to do from the beginning, and not saying, okay, I'll think about job when it comes to it. It should not have that attitude. So quality over quantity, meaning don't just apply to any and every role. Yes, you are in a hurry and a need to get a role, but look at what the job specification is. Try and find out about the company, research about the company, and actually see whether this is something which you would like to do. And when you are also applying, it is always a good practice to keep a track of how many companies you've applied for. My way to do it is, I actually did an Excel sheet, just companies you applied for, have they reached to you or not, how many days it has been, just to keep a track. And just applying to a lot probably will not help. Applying to what you're really looking for would probably help. Then again, it's a personal choice, I would say. Some people like to just fire resumes everywhere. That also helps for some people. So people have different strategies. Okay. Now, of course, profile companies you want to work for, follow these companies. I've already told you, look for graduate programs. A lot of companies advertise for that. And don't just be fixated on working for Apple and Google. It's obviously good if you land jobs in Apple and Google, but even working in very small to medium sized businesses actually help you build those skills. And who knows, you might actually end up growing quicker in a smaller organization than in a much bigger organization, right? So by all means, aim for bigger organizations. There's no harm, but trust me, there are so many amazing small size, medium size companies. And by the way, startups, I have not written startups, but Melbourne is a startup hub. There are so many startups today who are looking for good people, and you never know that you might land up in an opportunity where you might become, and this is now not unheard of, C-suite people in 24 years old, who just joined startups. So who knows, you're the next one. And of course, these are some websites, I'm sure Hayes and Hudson and Drake International, Randstad, and all these places. Do not be impatient with them. You might keep applying, or ensure that you they have short-term contracts, most of them. So it helps to kind of connect, know the recruiters. So one thing to do, which I also have done, is try and find out who these recruiters are in this organization. Recruiters never ever don't they always accept the connections. Let me tell you, I always do, because who knows, that connection might be useful. They might not respond to your direct messages, but just connect with them. I'll tell you what happens if they accept, because if they advertise for a position, you will get to see it on your LinkedIn page. So it helps, right? So for those kind of opportunities, so these are the places. There are more, but just some of them. By the way, considering regional opportunities is not a bad idea. There's so many good regional opportunities. So if you do not have a fixation on Melbourne or Sydney, by all means try and consider that. Who knows, you might. And PR pathways are also, there are so many opportunities there, and I'm sure if you've attended other sessions, you'd probably get to know about all of that as well. Right. So look for beyond Seek and beyond LinkedIn and beyond Indeed. What can you do? So you can go to companies' website. There is a career section. A lot of positions are applied. Sometimes a lot of those jobs are put there as well. Sometimes it's not there on LinkedIn or on Seek. So it's not a bad idea to just go and look at the career sections for the companies you aspire to join. Right. Of course, job sites are important. So create your profile on Seek, Indeed, and LinkedIn. Of course, your profile should be there. And if you do a search, I'm sure all of you know, and save the search, you can also sign up for customized job alerts. So sometimes you get those alerts on your email, and you know that these vacancies are available, right? When you're studying, your institution also has career services, your university. So ensure that you avail those, especially for targeted entry level positions. It helps, right? And LinkedIn, I mean, I cannot stress enough about the importance of LinkedIn. I got a job through LinkedIn. I hire a lot of people through LinkedIn. I literally go and headhunt on LinkedIn. I say this role, and a lot of people come. And because I have a premium account, I'm able to direct message them. And this is how I've hired a lot of people here, by the way. So it really works. Okay. Speaking to your network, cold calling, writing speculative applications. Yes, in these times, if you can go visit, there are people who actually drop resumes. I don't think you need to require, but calling on the land, board line and asking sometimes, it might not be a foolproof method, but who knows? Who knows who is on the other line and actually ends up connecting you with somebody, right, who's looking for, the company is looking for someone. Of course, applying for TFN goes without saying. Before you start to work, you need to have your tax file number. I'm sure if you're already working part-time during your studies, you already have all that, bank account and all, but I just thought I will just put it out there, right? Okay, now this is something which prepare for the D-Day. So D-Day is the interview day. So let's assume you crossed all these hurdles. Somehow somebody saw your resume, they liked you, they called you. You get an interview, chance to interview. You are very happy, you're very elated. Now, what can happen? Very rarely these days companies are calling for in-person interview because of the pandemic, Omicron, and all of that. So more often than not, chances are it will be the first round at least. It can first be a phone screening or a video screening, or it would be like a call on like a Skype or Microsoft Teams or Zoom, right? So if it's a in-person interview, of course you need to plan your travel. Goes without saying, look up the address, reach 10 minutes early, and prep everything, all of this in advance. Know that if you're driving, if there is a parking place or not, and stuff like that. But assuming more often than not, because I mean, for the last almost 1 year plus now, I'm not doing any in-person interviews. So I'm speaking by my experience. We mostly do our interviews on Teams, right? So what happens is that this is my experience. Some candidates, they have not probably used that platform before. There are multiple platforms available, right? So it's not always necessary that you have used sometimes it's possible that you've only used Zoom, you've not used Teams. So I have had experiences where the candidates are, they have come, they are struggling to download Teams and come for the interview. And that is why we have started, my team member now, they have started telling candidates, please download it, please do a practice or a dry run. It creates, so am I do I take so I am a patient person. I usually don't judge people for these things. So but a lot of people can, that, oh, they're not technologically savvy, right? And what it shows is that you're not prepared, you're not really excited enough. Because if you are excited enough, if you don't know how to use the platform, you will download it before, you'll not wait for that time 10 minutes before to download it, and you will do a dry run, and you will see how it works. And everything is available on Google. If you don't know, you can always look up for it, right? So I think it's important to do all that for specifically for virtual interviews these days. And I wanted to call it out here because a lot of people don't do it. Even if you are doing a virtual interview, please don't come in your pajamas. You need to dress professionally. This is a problem I have seen. People do not, I mean, yes, the pandemic has made all of us lazy. When I was working from home, of course, I was not dressing up professionally. But if there's a meeting, a professional kind of a thing, you need to. And of course, if you are you need to shave. A lot of men, they don't just come up like that, unkempt, not So dress professionally doesn't mean come in your blazer and your tuxedo, but professional dressing. Okay, I'm sure all of you know what is it. It is. Find out what type of interview it will be. So you can always check from with the recruiter, is it going to be a behavioral interview or technical, because a lot of IT kind of roles or engineering roles, that sometimes this is hardcore technical interviews, they actually ask you technical questions, right? Find out what kind of interview it's going to be. There are sometimes series of interviews happening. So there'll be a technical interview, there'll be a behavioral interview, there might be some case studies. So ensure that you ask enough questions. And trust me, sometimes candidates, and especially if you are an international student who is first time out in the job market, we are a little shy, thinking, will they judge us if we ask questions? Nobody's going to judge you. Ask as many questions to the recruiter, that or whosoever is kind of arranging for your interview, that what is the process going to be, what's the next steps. Keep communicating. Communication is the key, right? And in companies, depending on which type of organization it is, how big, how small, there is panel interview, which means that there's more than one person going to be sitting in that interview. Sometimes there are 3 to 4 people. Do not get enamored and overwhelmed. I personally feel that a panel should not have more than 3 people, especially when we are interviewing freshers. I think it kind of overwhelms people, but that's me. But there are a lot of companies who actually, you will see that 4 people have come, 4 people who look like, so they know a lot, and I'm like, oh my god. But just chill. If it's there, it's there. You have to take it, right? And assessment center is basically, what it means is that there is a series of in basket kind of exercises, or there is a series of, so they will actually book your half day or a day. They will have some case studies, they will ask you to present, they will do some some kind of test, which can be written test, or there will be some group discussion. So those kind of things will be a mixed bag of things. So a lot of companies do that. Of course, one-on-one interviews and virtual interviews, same thing. If it's not in person, it's virtual. Okay. Also, by the way, I'm not mention it there, but be also ready to talk about yourself on the phone. Sometimes it becomes very difficult, especially when a recruiter calls you and you are not in that zone. Hey, by the way, you are interested. If you're really not into the zone, it's better to call back. Say, I'll call you back in 10 minutes. But I would say, if you are looking for a role, you better be in that zone, because who knows, he or she might not call you back. So always have those things prepared. Practice it in front of the mirror, or in front of a friend who really loves you and can listen to you, you multiple times talking about yourself, right? So right, so be prepared, of course. So when you go for an interview, so know about your projects, know about, if you have a work experience, about the kind of work you have done, the projects you have done, right? And have examples. So have your story ready. So what I tell people is that you should be able to talk to them and know about yourself. And so more often than not, this question is asked, tell me about yourself, right? We all do. I ask everybody. So when you say tell me about yourself, it's not about your pet or your family or your hobby. Please, we are not here to listen to that. What it means when a recruiter or an interviewer is asking you about, tell me about yourself, first of all, yes, you need to prepare this. Some people often think, what is so hard about talking about myself? Why do I need to prepare? Trust me, out of 10 people, 8 people blabber. First of all, they'll say, yeah, so I am Priyanka. Yes, we know you are Priyanka. you know don't start from there. So what is it? Tell me about yourself. Tell me about yourself is actually, in a very crisp manner, in 2 to 3 sentences, your career summary or about you. Okay. No need to talk about your family, where you come from, unless there's a subsequent questions about that. Please answer by all means, and then talk about what skills you carry which can help them. Hopefully, I'm assuming they would have a job description, or if not, you would have spoken to the recruiter. So it should be a very crisp sales pitch about yourself, I would say. You're the product here, you are, or you are the, you are the person you're going to be selling, so yourself, right? So have that pitch ready. Practice that pitch multiple times. In fact, if you have friends, like I said, actually talk to them, said, how does it sound? And they would actually give you feedback. If you have if you are in touch with people like, say, me, you can always come and talk to me and say, this is how my sales pitch is. I mean, does it sound right? Something like that. Prepare for behavioral questions. Now, what are behavioral questions and situational questions? So I'm sure a lot of times people would have asked you, so how do you manage multitasking? Okay. Tell us about a time when you had multiple deadlines and per projects, and how you dealt with it. Okay. This is an example of a behavioral question. Be ready to have real life examples. So have a ready bank of real life examples. So when I go for interview, even now, I actually think of some of these questions and I say, okay, when they talk about teamwork, I will talk about this example from my past experience. When they talk about challenging stakeholder, I will talk about this person in my past experience. So I have this story ready in my head so that I am not blabbering and I'm just blurting something out. I'm ready with the question. Not ready with the script, but ready with the background. And this is what I'm going to talk about, the pointer. And when you're talking about behavioral question, have those stories ready, right? And use the star technique. Now, I'm not sure how many of you know about star technique. Very, very common in Australia, anywhere for that matter. So it's about situation, task, action, and results. What the situation was, give a brief outline, or whatever the problem was, right? Describe that this is what it was, right? What was required of you? What task was required? What is the action? What are the steps you took? You did. And result is, of course, what was the outcome, right? You have to have a confident body language. Yes, Meghna, I will quickly wrap up. Eye contact, having a clear diction, all that is very, very important. And at the end, I am sure a lot of people, if you've gone through interviews, people would have asked you, so do you have questions? The interview. Don't say we have no questions. That is a fantastic opportunity for you guys to show how inquisitive you are. Have you researched on the company? Do you want to know more about the culture or what are the opportunities there? People, if they are saying no, we don't have any questions, are actually missing out on a huge opportunity to explore and to connect with the interviewer. So be ready with your questions. There's some bank of 7 8 questions which actually you can use everywhere. Tell me more about the work culture. How is like how does a day look like working here? What are the kind of people who work here? Do not, please, for heaven's sake, start asking questions, what will be my hourly rate? Yes, it's all important, but it can come later. Okay, more often than not, you probably, the recruiter who would have already discussed with you about the rate and about the working hours and stuff like that, right? Know your work rights. I'll quickly go through it. So, of course, Fair Works is, the authority which kind of determines. So, there is a Fair Work Act 2009, where national employment standards, 10 entitlements are listed. That's the basic minimum standard for working conditions in Australia. So, whenever you go for a job, whether it's a casual role or know what your entitlements are, what's the pay rate, what are the job duties, whether it's a full-time work, part-time work, or a casual work. Knowing your visa status is also important. Right now, students are being allowed to work full-time, but when you are a student, you are not. So knowing your visa status accordingly and all of that, how many hours of work it is, what is the award or agreement. Some industries have award and agreement which actually kind of details these working conditions, right? And these are some websites, Fair Work website, WorkSafe, which can help you get more and enlightened on working conditions, on health and safety and stuff like that. And workman work cover, which if you have any injury in workplace and stuff, what's your cover, what's your rights basically. So it's always important. Let me tell you, any employer in Australia, as per the law, they're supposed to give you a fair work statement, or they are supposed to kind of let you know about the work rights. If they're not doing it, they're actually not serving the purpose. So we do it, but don't wait for people to kind of give you details. You yourself can find out. Everything is all charted out in details in these websites. Okay, right. So that's about the talk I wanted to give today. Again, reminding you of the contest we have in terms of the questions and the giveaways which are already there. Meghna spoke about it. So ensure you participate. And yeah, thank you for your time and patience. Meghna, do we have any questions now? Sorry.
So I haven't seen any questions that we need to address yet. I'll allow a few minutes if somebody wants to type in a question. A big thank you to everyone for attending this session. I want to particularly thank Priyanka for being so generous and sharing all the tips and tricks in so much detail. Please don't forget to leave your reviews on how insightful the experience was for you. A review link has been shared in the chat box. And please don't miss out on the upcoming information sessions as well. There are a lot of exciting topics, and you can join straight away through the links in the chat box. There are not many questions for now. I think you've been pretty specific and you've spoken in so much detail. So thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining.
So, Meghna, is there no question? Okay, there was a nursing question. Sorry,
Yeah.
Meghna, to stop you. So, guys, I am there on LinkedIn. So, I will be very happy to connect with you guys if you want any career advice or anything. So Priyanka Pandey, look for me, Aussizz Group. And I am sorry I forgot to share the link, but just look for Priyanka Pandey, Aussizz Group. You're going to get it. My full name is Priyanka Pandey, Pandey. So can you type it, Meghna, so that they just know?
Yeah,
And look for me on LinkedIn. Give a reference that you attended this, summit, and I'll be happy to connect with all of you. We also do have some vacancies, by the way, so you never know. So yeah, just reach out to me. Thanks a lot. Sorry, Meghna, for interrupting you.
no worries at all. I know there were a few queries here and there, but it wasn't related to the topic of
Yes, it
this
was not.
session.
Yeah.
If you have anything that's education related, course admissions or anything, I have left my email in the chat box as well. So for any education or even migration related query, you can send an email on that and we will get back to you. The expert in question will get back as soon as possible. So thank you. Thank you, everyone. I think we'll take a leave here. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.